Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk Phys Ed. This is a talk show where we get to know and talk with some of the most influential physical education and health education teachers around the world. I am your host, Jason Steele. With me as always, Tanner Rose.
Hey, I feel like I'm in a little North Dakota sandwich tonight. So being the outsider, I also kind of thought it was funny that you said we talk to people from around the world when everybody lives within probably 100 miles of you, except for me. So there's that.
As the show as a whole, it's around the world, right, Tanner?
Yes, we have talked to some people who live a long way away.
I thought about doing a kind of a spin-off episode of this one where it was just me talking with our guests, but then I thought, no, because then I'd have to write all the questions myself, and they're not going to be as witty and as good. And so here we are. We're joined with Dr. Joe Deutsch and Leah Wheeling today, both of them, like Tanner said, from North Dakota, God's country, right? The better Dakota. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, Jason, I just have to say I'm extremely honored to be here and so glad that you didn't decide to do your little spinoff, because as you're fully aware and Tanner's aware, I've been trying to figure out for well over a year now, since we were at Shape last year in 2019, what I needed to accomplish in my career to make it on Let's Talk Phys Ed. So I don't know exactly what I've done or if I even did anything, but this is bucket list right here. I am on Let's Talk with Phys Ed, or Let's Talk Phys Ed with Tanner and Jason. So I appreciate it. My name's Joe Deutsch, yes, and I am an elementary PE teacher by trade. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here. We have an article coming out in Joperd here this month about incorporating Health.Moves.Minds into your PEAT program. And it also talks about how to sign up for it and all that good stuff. And I know Leah, and you're going to hear from her in a second, but she did a super awesome event and whatever else. So I'm just along for the ride. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we're glad you're here. I told you we'd get you on. I told you we'd figure it out. We finally got it. You're a busy guy. Hard to track down, but hey, we got you on. Leah, how are you? Who are you? What do you do?
Hi, thanks for having me on your show. This is a super huge honor. One, to be on here with Dr. Deutsch, who's been a mentor and got me into kind of the ND Shape world, as well as he was the president-elect when he got me onto the board. And so he's been an awesome mentor through this process. And then he got me to repay the favor to you, Jason, I believe, and getting you involved as fast as we could when I was the president-elect there. So that's fantastic. And Tanner, good to see you again. We had mentioned, it's been about a year since we sat next to each other on the plane, and you showed me how to use all the different technologies in your so that was pretty awesome. So I teach middle school PE, and then I took a new assignment this year where it's combined with digital literacy. And my principal kind of said, this is what's going to be. And I said, okay. So that's definitely been interesting. A lot of the assessments and standards for that class are very health orientated in terms of accessing information. So it's just like a health class for graders on the computer, which is kind of cool. But yes, I did do a Health.Moves.Minds event this year. We started in March. We didn't get to culminate because of the COVID stuff, but it was pretty exciting. So that's who I am and that's what I do.
Awesome. Yeah. And you want to talk about passionate physical educators, health educators. North Dakota is where it's at, Tanner. I don't know if you do that, but I don't know if you can tell, but this is what it is. We're passionate. We're excited. I feel like, you're pumping up our tires a little bit, the both of you, saying, this is a huge honor. We couldn't wait to be on, but we'll take it. Listen, I'll take it where we can get it. And the honor is all ours. Trust me.
And I should also say I'm honored to be on with Leah as well, because I have what I call the list of rock stars out there that only 10 people maybe are on in the world of physical education. And Leah is at the top, because you talk about a ball of energy and willing to do anything for her students and for our profession. And so I'm honored that she's honored that I got to work with her, because she's super awesome. Rock star.
Thanks, Joe.
That's awesome. And I gotta say, I don't know if this is maybe the right place or time, but you kind of gave me a little window into this. But the first time I ever met Leah, and I think the first time I had ever met you too, Joe, we were in Fargo for the ND Shape State Conference. It was during the summer. And it was the first one I'd ever been to. At this time, I didn't know any of you. I wasn't on the board, nothing. I had nothing to do with it. And apparently I had nothing to do for that weekend either. And I saw it and I'm like, I'm going. I met Leah and she's doing a cardio drumming session. And you said ball of energy. At one point I was sitting at a table and there's like 3 or 4 other people. And I had to put my foot in my mouth, but I didn't really because it's not how I meant it. But I said, holy, is she always that energetic and like that crazy when it comes to this? And this lady turns around and goes, yeah, that's Leah. She's awesome. And then I was like, yeah, no, I know. I just was wondering if she's always that energetic. Turns out, Leah, that was your mom.
Yeah. Probably. She's a pretty big supporter of her children, and then of ND Shape. She's become an awesome kind of part of that.
So it was not negative in any way. It was just me making an observation and going, wow, like, holy cow, like she is energetic. She is a go-getter. That's awesome. So you guys have seen the show. We're going to jump into some questions now. Some of them are physical education related. Some of them are for fun. So you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yes.
Here we go. Number 1 question. The top of everybody's list when we asked to submit questions for you two was, and this is what everybody's wondering right now, okay? How will you be celebrating Cinco de Mayo this week? Either of you can go right now.
You better go first, Joe.
Oh boy, I'm gonna pop the bubble here and tell you I wasn't even prepared for that one. So, yeah, I mean,
We need to tell them what Cinco de Mayo means in English. It means the 5th of May.
I think Dr. Joe knows.
He looks confused.
so yeah, I mean, drink. Is that not what you're supposed to do? Celebrate Cinco de Mayo or not?
You certainly can. Absolutely.
So I'm
Are
going
you
to deflect
thinking,
that
like-
question, I guess, Joe, or Jason, because my favorite holiday is actually May 1st. So I love running around on May Day, and I was able to run around to like 8 different teachers and friends and family kind of around the city on May 1st. And I really enjoy doing that. That's like my big holiday. And Tammy Doppler was on a board, got one. My teaching partners got some, and some I had to ask for their address. I was like, I might have something for you, you know? So that was pretty cool. So I guess even like May the 4th tomorrow, or that one's pretty cool. And, you know, for Star Wars Day, but Cinco de Mayo's not been a huge thing for me, I guess. So May 1st is kind of my day.
Yeah,
You're not a
Cinco de Mayo
guacamole and cheese?
means May 5th, right? So by the 5th of May, Leah's petered out. She's started with May Day and running around with baskets, and
She's
by May
exhausted.
4th, she's wore out.
Just going to relax.
She's been doing her Mandalorian marathon. I think the new season comes out on May the 4th. So
That's
Gonna be
good
excited for that one.
Good planning by them.
yeah. Jason, do you have Cinco de Mayo plans?
No, I don't. You know, usually we don't answer our own questions, Tanner, so I wasn't prepared for that either. like Dr. Joe, I got kind of caught off guard. But no, honestly, I'm probably in the same boat as Leah. I'm just gonna hang out and relax. Maybe we'll make some tacos or something, or maybe we'll make some, you know.
I thought you were going to say you're exhausted from May Day delivery baskets.
Well, you know, my family did. My kids and my wife ran around and delivered all these. I was doing landscaping at the time, but it was really actually cool because I had about 2 or 3 students actually came and dropped off some May Day baskets. So that was nice. And then
Did they wrap them in a bleach white bow?
no, they were just in little Ziploc bags. But I'll take
That's a start.
it. I'll take it anytime.
He still eats the Skittles.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get back to
my
what-
bags had a bottle of wine in them.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Let's get back to PE stuff. Leah, you mentioned that you had done Health Moves Minds up until school let out. Can you kind of tell us about what happened, like when you started it, and how the students have responded to it, and kind of what you
Yeah,
expected through the process?
yeah,
Because we didn't get a chance to do that.
for sure. So Bismarck Public Schools has a pretty long tradition of being very successful in some of the other organizations and fundraising that PE has done in the past. And Simile was kind of got on that boat about 4 or 5 years ago when I got there. We had a couple $10,000 events with some of those beforehand. So this year we kind of took a similar recipe, but with a new organization, obviously, with the Health.Moves.Minds. So we kind of like sort of prep it with the kids. We came after Penny Wars this year, which kind of affected it a little bit because our 6th grade is such a huge Penny Wars, like they had brought in $4,000 in Penny Wars stuff. So next year we're going to try and either hop in with them or together, or we'll try and do something because once you kind of start asking, that is kind of a lot to ask of students, but they are so generous at my school. So we kind of start prepping them a little bit in February, tell them we have some March Madness coming up, and they get kind of excited for that. And I tell them, you know, Simile's been a pretty strong middle school candidate for fundraising, and they get motivated. So there's also the first 2 weeks in March. That's kind of when middle school sports are in their gap. So that's the after school gym space happens then. So our Fuel Up to Play 60 kids kind of know, Miss Wheeling, if we want to have a tournament, it has to happen now. So we planned like 3 tournaments in that week. It's always National Eat School Breakfast Week as well, the first week of March. And it's like, okay, and then it's the end of I Coach High School Swimming. So that's actually high school state week too. So it gets pretty busy that first week. But we hosted, to kick it off, an ultimate football tournament, and we had probably 15 or 20 teams come in, feels like so long ago, and play. The students loved it. They ran it. They managed it. They won a little football at the end, so it wasn't like we play for anything huge, bragging rights. They get their picture on the wall. We did then breakfast week all week. We had a Dalvin Cook jersey from the Vikings. Sorry, Jason or Tanner, if you're not a Vikings fan, I guess, from Wisconsin.
My family's from Minnesota.
I am the Vikings fan.
Yeah. So, and then, so that was cool that we had that. We hosted then the next week a basketball, 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and all of those kind of wrap up in our after school program, like in terms of opportunities for kids to come in, to move. When the event starts that first week in March, on March 4th, we had all 350 6th grade students come into the gym, and I give the little presentation. Here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Here's how you can be impactful. We started with some mindful breathing, which I do in my class all the time. We called it like air weights, which don't make fun of me, but we learned it at band camp. So that was pretty fun, like to teach the kids, you know, inhale, exhale, X amount of counts. So the whole gym is doing that. And then we get into that rest of the presentation. We tell them some of the incentives. If they had gotten to $8,000, I do let them cut off, like the kids with the most gets to cut off 8 inches of my hair, which we've had happen in the past. One student got to cut off with 10 inches the one year, which was pretty exciting. And then it kind of like cut crooked. So it was about 15 by the time we finished, which was fine. It was fun. It grows back. So that was awesome. And then we finished that with a 7-part jumping jack challenge. So I had 350 kids stand up and do this, you know, apart, together, together, apart, together, together, apart, which I learned at one of my Indie Shape conferences from, I believe, Clayton Ellis. So that was kind of cool to get to do that with all the kids and have them trying that, and the staff was really involved. So that was an awesome kickoff event. We also created a t-shirt, which was super awesome. I actually wore it here tonight. So it's physical education, more than busy, half good. And the kids, these are our school colors. I'm a huge fan of black, but they're our school colors, and they get to wear this if they brought in $10 for cash donations, and then they could buy a t-shirt. And then they have a PE uniform, so this could substitute for their gray kind of bland PE shirt. So that was super cool. That was March 4th. The money started rolling in essentially March 5th. I want a new PE shirt type of a thing. And some of the kids got a little bit more involved online, not as many because they're not 13 yet, or the waiver, whatever we needed, the age, they weren't quite there, so we needed parent permission and to go through that. That was a little slower, but it was fine. We did end up with some decent donations online as well. And then we, let's see, got into the next week. And that's kind of right around when Corona started, the rumors started coming and going. And then by the end of March 13th, our event was supposed to be March 16th, 17th in class. And so we did not get to host our final events, which those of you that have done the fundraisers before, you kind of know that's when your money comes in. I'm always like stressing, like, oh my gosh, we're never going to get there. And then $4,000 or $5,000 rolls in the door those last 2 days. So it wasn't quite as high as I thought. We still have probably 100 shirts left, which I was on the bank of, we were probably going to sell out of them. But that's okay. The kids will come back in the fall and they'll be able to buy a shirt then, and we'll just add it to our tally next year.
Yep.
So that's essentially how our event was planned. When they come in and play the little tournament in class, we go for 90 minutes because I have a block schedule. We invite teachers in. Kids are on teams that they make and they create their own team name. If you draft and let's say you have $100 and that team's the most, actually most teams have about 250 that they're coming in to draft with. We have some ex-NDSU basketball players that really rocked the house when they were at NDSU. So they're like 6'10" and very talented, and they come in and the students are like, I want to draft them to my team and I want to draft this teacher to my team. So they bring in extra donations and they get to draft. This year we were going to play basketball, nitro ball, beach volleyball, cooter soccer in like quarter courts, and then Mission Impossible, like where you have to get across the gym without touching the floor. The kids just rotate around through the various games and play with the teacher on their team. So that's how the event would go. And I tracked it all in the gym, and the charts didn't get very high because we didn't get to finish, but we turned out just shy of $1,000. So it was pretty cool for what we did have and did get to do.
That's awesome.
That's long answer to that question. Sorry.
No, that's what we wanted, because then I didn't have to answer the follow-up question. But you nailed it, and I think that's going to be an amazing thing for all schools once they start doing this. Just the amount of intentionalness and student buy-in there, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
We did try one new thing too that I forgot to mention, and I'll have it in my article too, then a couple of pictures of it. The kids, so I watched the Motivation Factor because that kind of blew through Twitter a while, and I was like, hey, let's watch this. And I was very impressed with that program. I thought that was super cool. But I was like, can kids really do that many calisthenics, or are they all just gonna like cry foul and be like, oh, I hate PE? So I asked the kids for March Madness if they wanted to create a calisthenics bracket, and they did. Now, I am not going to let them create it the way they did, because it's like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and then leg raisers. And there's no rhyme or reason to what comes next in it. So the bracket was really weird when we did it. Like, I think I'd do upper body, lower body, entire body exercises at the time, because it was a weird transition. And one chunk of the bracket ended up being like all types of push-ups and doing push-ups over and over, excuse me, in every class, 30 seconds at a time. Got to be a lot. And the kids were like, I hate this side of the bracket. I'm like, hey, you guys but that was super fun. And I really liked doing that as a challenge for the warm-ups, and the kids owned it, and they got up and the whole class was counting. It was such a cool culture builder for the warm-ups. So I really, really liked that aspect of what I did for my PE class leading into that event.
Cool.
Right. So then, Joe, you've been busy too. You just got done presenting at the do-gooders conference, right?
Yeah.
And your conference session, you talked about emotional intelligence and what was it? The universal or the keys to successful, what I write down there, fundraising there. So I know that you probably have a 45-minute presentation in your mind of what you could say, but keep in mind that we don't have 45 minutes. Sure. So what can you tell us about what you were sharing when you were at that conference?
Yeah, so emotional, I jokingly, I gave this presentation the previous Friday to an international higher education conference called Emotional Intelligence, the Universal Key to Successful Leadership. Emotional intelligence is predominant in our lives everywhere. Emotional intelligence is basically, understanding your own emotions and navigating your way through those, understanding the emotions of the person that you're dealing with, understanding the emotions of the environment, and just figuring out how to navigate your way through to try to find, because as Leah's talking about with a lot of the concepts of SCL, the whole school, whole community, whole child, all this stuff. I mean, we need to, the Health.Moves.Minds curriculum is going to be more important to kids now when they come back in the fall than ever before. Because if we thought that maybe that it was going to help a significant population, everybody has been adversely affected by this. All kids are missing their friends. All kids are missing their teachers. And as much as we explain to them what's going on, they never in a million years thought they were going to end up, in a situation like this. None of us believed 2 months ago we could ever have the country shut down. So, it's we as we define what our new norm is going to be, being kind, being empathetic. Everybody thinks empathetic means sympathetic. Empathetic doesn't have to be sympathetic. Empathetic means to understand what other people are feeling and put yourself in their shoes so that you can not judge, but rather help them help themselves, even if that's not what you need. So so it's emotional intelligence is basically understanding that that everything is not as it appears, and that there are voice inflections, and there are body languages and all kinds of other things that are telling us different things, and then keeping our emotions in check and moving through things that way. So I appreciate you picking up on that, Tanner. You probably saw that on Facebook, because I know you're a Facebook guy too, and actually that's my preferred method of communication. And Steele doesn't ever know what I'm up to because he refuses to be involved with Facebook. I don't know. I think he thinks it's for old people.
I do not. And the whole backstory behind Facebook is, well, there's two little small parts to it. Number one, I did have Facebook at one point, and I was more hooked on Facebook than I am on Twitter, which is dangerous. Number two, I got hacked one time, and it scared the bejesus out of me. So I shut it down. I'm like, I'm never going back on that thing again. And then I do jump on Facebook, on my wife's Facebook, when she's like, hey, check this out, look at this, whatever. And a half hour later, I'm finally handing her the phone back because I'm so busy scrolling and creeping on other people. It drives me bonkers. I don't get it. I mean, I understand it. It's just, whatever. But I was going to comment, though, that when Tanner asked that question, you could tell Joe was a little bit surprised, like, wow, you guys know that about me? Like, we know everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, like
we
I
have
said,
a good research department.
That was fun because I stepped out of my wheelhouse, right? What do I know about fundraising? I don't know anything about fundraising. They approached me as an expert on emotional intelligence and asked me if I could give a presentation and I had to give a TED Talk style. I've never given a TED Talk before. I've presented at national conferences to researchers, of which you report the information and people ask you questions and whatever. And it isn't about the delivery as much as it is the content information. But when you're talking to fundraisers who are people and whatever else, they need that energy and that presentation as much as they need the content. So
someday we are going to tag team on a TED Talk. Yeah. I'm thinking like an orange and baby blue tuxedos, though, like when we do it, right? So
Dumb and Dumber?
Totally Dumb and Dumber.
Be careful, Joe. He's going to make you do all the writing.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will. No getting around that one.
But then the last thing I'll tell you, Tanner, is what else I've been up to, because I know it's important to get this out there. But yeah, we my colleague Dr. Jenny Linker and I wrote an article for Joperd called incorporating Health.Moves.Minds into your PEAT program. And it isn't just about incorporating into your PEAT program, but it also goes over the whole process of registering through Health.Moves.Minds, accessing the curriculum, even if you have no interest in doing the fundraising portion of it, or you want to hold off on committing to the fundraiser portion, you have access to the lesson plans. The lesson plans are complete. The standards are listed in them. I mean, you don't have to do anything other than get the equipment together and teach the lesson. And there are 4 lessons for each age group right now, and the high school should be coming out here this spring. But then it also talks about the fundraising portion and how you decide, some groups think that, by supporting our community, in the process of this, that we might generate more money and do good for our community. So you can keep 25% for yourself in a equipment voucher from Gopher, and give the other $25 or 25% in cash to a local charity, or through a check to a local charity. Or you could keep the whole 50% for your equipment if you really are lacking equipment at your school, and then they'll actually give you another 10% bonus if you do that. So you could get a gift card to Gopher for 60% of the money that you raise. So as Leah had said, we've had a lot of success with other platforms in the past. Not only are we supporting our national association and in keeping it alive and educating physical educators, but we're also getting back in the form of equipment that we all need for our classrooms, the benefits of our hard work. So I'm not going to say negative things about other platforms, but I will say that the nice thing about Health.Moves.Minds is that it's got an educational platform to it, which other ones haven't necessarily had, which is based off of social emotional learning and things that are going to be even more important to kids in the fall when they come back. There's no need to commit to the fundraiser, but I think you'll find that the fundraisers actually, and you can turn it on and turn it off. You don't have to do one event. You could run an event in the fall and raise money, and then do it again in the spring and raise money. And every time you get that same deal with the money. So, and I just talked about the reason why it's important to be introducing it in your PEAT programs, your physical education, teacher education programs, is because if you get to the teachers before they even get their first teaching job, they learn how to do it. They're going to be much more comfortable starting it on their own when they get out there before they're approached by any other entities. So, we do it with our homeschool program. So we have a homeschool physical education program where parents in the community can bring their kids in, and that's where we incorporate the lessons. And then we have an adopt-a-school program where our students in their senior year then go out to the public schools and do a bunch of things for the teachers there. And then they ask, can we run this fundraiser? We'll do all the work. And the teachers are like, sure, if we're going to get the kickbacks from the equipment. They find out how easy it is to do. And hopefully they will then take that over as our kids leave their school and move on to other programs. So it's win, 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 win all the way around for everybody. And so, yeah, that's the article. We're really excited about it. And we're really excited about continuing to promote Health.Moves.Minds for Shape America, because I think it's win-win-win for everybody all the way around.
Yeah, and excited to see that article come out and see what it's all about. I was very gracefully reminded today by my wife that Mother's Day is coming up. And so we're curious, how are the two of you going to be spending Mother's Day? We'll start with the mother in the room. How about Mrs. Wheeling, Leah?
Okay, Mother's Day. Let's see.
I mean, maybe you don't know. Maybe it's a surprise, right? But have you heard about Mother's Day yet?
No.
Do we need to bring Thomas on so he can tell us what the plans are?
No. No, let's see. Mother's Day. I was probably planning on planting some lilies for my mom. We cleaned out her garden patch, and I think that's something that I will probably go do. And just help her get her garden stuff ready, because I've already gotten all mine like ready to go. Let's see, since this whole little pandemic started, I've taken probably 3 or 4 days a week little naps with my son in the afternoon. So we will probably take a nap together on Mother's Day again, which is kind of fun. He's 2, and so that's
the cutest child that I've ever seen by you. So
it's pretty fun. Yeah, I'm sure we'll go out for a long walk. He's into like pushing his little mower on the sidewalk because it works better on the sidewalk than the grass. But yeah, we probably go out for 2 walks a day, nap time, supper. I love pizza. We'll probably eat pizza. Yep, that's probably what we'll do.
That's gonna be a good day.
Dr. Deutsch, what do you got planned?
Well, we kind of leave it up to mom, whatever she's up for that day, it's her day. And then luckily I live in town, in the same city that my parents are. So we'll roll up to my mom and dad's house too, and sit on the deck and keep our 6 feet and maybe say happy Mother's Day to her, and just rest and relaxation. My wife's going. They're off. Her dental office is opening back up tomorrow, so she'll be heading back to work on Monday morning. So it'll just be nice, relaxing. Maybe go for a walk or biking. We gotta get outside right now. That is the most important thing when we're feeling cooped up and we're feeling frustrated that we got less answers and more questions about what's going on in this world. That the one thing they can't take away from us is Mother Nature. So let's get outside and enjoy some nice weather. Tanner, have you guys had nice weather in Iowa here recently?
Yeah, we went to my in-laws' house. They've got a couple of acres, and we slept in their camper, didn't go into the house, and had fire pit and brought the dogs, and we just spent the last 2 days outside. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, I didn't have much planned for Mother's Day. When she kind of hinted towards it, it was I said, "Oh man, Mother's Day's coming up. What are we gonna do, you guys?" The kids were there too, and then she said, "Well, the stores really aren't open, so I guess you can't really go buy anything, really." And
No.
Yeah,
I saw one of those a meme or a picture or whatever on Facebook that says, "Our dads, forewarning." Your children are not in school this year, yeah. So you have 1 week to prepare a Mother's Day gift because you aren't getting one from school this year.
They will not be making one in school, right? Yeah. Oh, no kidding. Tanner, you got the next one. I'm excited for this one.
All right. So here's the deal.
This one.
Every year, the fourth graders have these state floats, and they all bring all these like big old boxes with all the things they've learned from their different states to the cafeteria, which is just outside the gym. And then they have people walk through and they ask them questions about their state and they tell them everything they've learned. My son chose North Dakota because he thought it would be funny to include Jason in his state float. So anyway, I told that to Jason like a month or two back, and we both thought that was awesome. Turns out he didn't have time to do it because they closed down the school. So all three of you are gonna help out with my son Grayson and trying to figure out what he can add in his state float if that ends up being an assignment he has to do over the next couple of weeks. So here's the first question. All three of you need to answer. Which town would be considered the armpit of North Dakota?
And as host of this show, I get to go last.
Wow.
The armpit of North Dakota.
We're pretty proud of North Dakota. That's a bad question.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all gonna be like this.
When I saw that question, Tanner, I was like, I don't even know.
The only thing I would have to say would maybe be Grand Forks because they have that beet factory, right, or whatever factory's up there. So when you drive through, it smells.
Factory, and it tends to stink a little bit. I was gonna go with not necessarily a town either. I was gonna maybe go with Ward County, where Minot is, where I'm at, just because when you look at Ward County, it's like a square and then it's got like a little thing that comes up. So it's maybe like an armpit, but
yeah.
Because
I love Grand Forks. It's been fun. UND hockey is awesome, but it smells.
It does.
Yeah, and I feel like they put all their energy into that university, but not anything into the city. If you go to Grand Forks, I don't feel like it's the city itself has flourished in the last 10 years. I don't think people are moving there. I think the city is defined by the university. So I'd like to hope that Fargo isn't just defined by the university.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's a shot or not, because Dr. Deutsch from North Dakota State in Fargo might be sending a shot out. A lot of people watch the show, Doc. I'd be careful.
No. They play hockey up there. We play football here, so there's no rivalry there. We're good.
All right. We'll move on to the next one. How about which college or university in North Dakota would be considered the best physical education teachers college?
Oh,
I'm going to answer this one last. Good luck, you two. I'm listening.
I'm gonna say Minot State. Hands down. Hands down. More PE teachers per capita coming out of Minot State in the state.
They just don't come to our conference
They just don't come. Well, cool.
as much.
Not
So I'd have to say Dr. Deutsch from NDSU brings the biggest number, though it's pretty close to Angie Williams brings a solid number from VCSU every year. She also takes her kids to like MinShape,
Yep.
South Dakota. They're presenting like everywhere. She had kids go out to Montana last year. Not very many to that one because it's in the summer. And then Chris Mahoney's got a great program in Jamestown. Yeah, his kids are sharp coming out of there too. So
Who are you gonna
Yeah,
throw a dart at
okay.
now, Dr. Deutsch? Who are you gonna throw a shot at?
This is not shotting at all. I mean, I guess it's a shot if I don't include you, but Leah hit the nail on the head. She stole the thunder. I would say that that the strength of your program has to be the strength of the passion of your faculty. And I would like to say that Dr. Linker and I and Dr. Strand are quite passionate, but Angie Williams at Valley City State is awesome, and she takes her students everywhere, and per capita they bring more than we do, simply because we just have a bigger university. But she's just awesome, and so is her program, and Chris Mahoney as well. And so I've got the privilege to work with all of them, and I think we share so much information between the three of us that our programs should be very similar. And nothing against any of the others, but I wouldn't say that they have faculty members that are quite as engaged as
minus maybe you, Mary. I got to throw a little shout out there because I teach there too. So I was
and
like,
Porter,
we're rattling these all off. And Mike Porter
is
teaches
so
there,
hard.
and Tammy Doppler taught there, and Whitney Spade taught there. So like, there's tons of good teachers at UMary too. But
I'm gonna give an
getting good.
adjunct shout out to you, Mary, for
This
their.
is so hard for North Dakota people to do, Tanner. You have no idea. Like,
Oh, I know.
No.
You're all North Dakota nice.
But I'm
right now.
gonna take the Leah Wheeling neutral at the very end and say, you know what? We don't say who's better. We're physical education. We want people to be lifelong physically active learners, and so we're supportive of anybody who is a physical education major at any university, and we want them all to be rock stars and make lifelong physically active kids.
yeah,
All right.
Tanner.
Perfect. Then let's not named. Okay, you can't say Josh DeMille, Jason. Who's the most famous person from North Dakota?
Well, okay, I'm gonna go first because clearly I'm slowly working my way up. If some kid in Iowa wants to do a billboard with my picture on it, right? Like, I'm getting there. We're 53 episodes into Let's Talk Phys Ed. We are YouTube famous, okay? So
He hasn't watched any of them, though.
No.
Well, and he was there was a picture of him in your son's presentation too. I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I would say, like, his teacher's gonna go, "Who's this guy?" And he's gonna go, "What do you mean you don't know who Jason is?" Right? But I'm gonna go with most famous person in North Dakota. I'm gonna go with Roger Maris.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Roger Maris.
Leah, Joe?
Well, Roger Maris is a Shanley grad from right here in Fargo. So Roger and I actually share a birthday together, September 10th, ironically. So he's definitely super famous. But I mean, come on, let's be realistic. Carson Wentz.
I knew he was going there.
People know Carson Wentz mainly because I was his advisor as a physical education major, but also I think because he quarterbacked the Eagles.
Yeah.
Or, one or the other. I don't know.
But I mean, people, like, when I was in Philadelphia wearing NDSU gear, they jokingly stopped me on the street and said, "Oh, you're here to see Carson?" And I wanted to say, I don't tell him I'm here, and maybe he wants to have me over. But no, but they do. They know he's from North Dakota State, so that's cool. And I don't know if everybody knows that Josh Duhamel's from North Dakota, really. But I
Jason
know
tells everybody.
I know he's super famous and he's super cool.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to pick two less well-known ones that are probably closer to the swimming world. Dagny Knutson came out of Minot. She swam with my sister, and she made it to Olympic trials and part of the World Championship team. She swam with like Missy Franklin's and stuff like that. And there's articles. She was just up on the Twitter for the WDA, posted an article about where she's at now. And that was fun to like watch her swim. And I remember my sister coming home saying, I got lapped 100 times by Dagny today, swimming, and that's cool. And then my husband had the privilege to swim with Matt Lowe, who is also part of the USA men's team. I think he's their official chiropractor. I was going to go to the Olympics with them. So those would probably be the two, just more because I coach swimming. My family's been involved in swimming. So those would be probably the two I would pick. Aside from our cool PE teachers that seem to go to the Phi Ed conferences, we're pretty popular.
Clear, Tanner, out of all of those people mentioned, I know all of them except for Roger Maris. In fact, I have to tell this story because I knew Dr. Joe Deutsch was going to bring up Carson. I'm still kicking myself to this day, and I maybe have shared this on a show before, but I knew I coached hockey with a gal who went to school with Carson, and they were talking one time on the phone when we were on the bus, and she's like, hey, Carson's dog just had puppies. And I jokingly said, tell him that Jason says he should save one for me. 2 months go by and we're on the bus and she gets a phone call and she leans over, she goes, I don't know. And she's talking on the phone. She said, I'll check. And she leans over and she says to me, Carson wants to know if you still want one of his puppies. And I was like, yeah, no, because I knew my wife was going to be upset if I said yes. But I'm like, it's Carson Wentz, like I have to. And then I didn't. And so almost had one of Carson Wentz's dog's puppies.
All right, that is a fantastic story. I'm glad we have that on here. All right, I'm going to skip my next one, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, let's see. My friend Shannon to Jaden, he's a South Dakota native. He always says that his Dakota is better than your Dakota. And I know you don't like to compare and say who's better.
Oh, no. That's within North Dakota, though.
What?
When it comes to North Dakota, South Dakota, we can compare all day long.
All right, give me one reason why North Dakota is fantastic. All of you.
Well, first of all, before we even go ahead and answer, I just want to say that if you were sitting next to Shannon and they served you up your food together at the same time, he'd want to compete against you to see who ate your food faster. So if Shannon's not in a competition, then he's not satisfied. So that's why he's always taking shots about the Dakotas. But I'll go first. This is an exciting answer, but this is the God's honest truth. And I've heard it's because we pay an income tax, but we could get 8 inches of snow tonight, and you could wake up tomorrow morning and get on the interstate in North Dakota and drive 94 to Bismarck and up to Minot or towards Minot. You could go down I-29 and you would be 100% comfortable driving. You get to that invisible line border at South Dakota, North Dakota, and it is glare ice. They actually invested in these Jumbotron signs on the side of the roads that say inclement weather, drive safely or something like that. And I'm just like, I'm going to die on their roads. And I was like, why don't they clear their roads? Why do they absolutely refuse to remove snow and ice from their interstates? And somebody told me it was because they don't have a state income tax, and that's what the budget goes to. So they do some removal, but it is sparse at the least. So
shots fired.
If you don't want to die in the winter, don't be in South Dakota.
Shots fired. We take care of our roads here.
That's right.
Take that, Shannon.
So,
Leah, you're going to skip this one?
I don't know as much about South Dakota, maybe because I haven't invested as much time to learn about it, because I like North Dakota. I just think it's you know, everything's awesome here. I love our education system. I like our university systems. We have some great colleges. Yeah, I just really like North Dakota. I love the Bismarck area. I love the river. I love being on it. Adventuring in North Dakota, the Badlands are fantastic. Yeah,
And only the best come north. So.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to go to one last question because I'm looking at the clock. I think we've been recording a long time. So, Sarah GH would definitely want me to ask this question. What is the most North Dakotan thing you can say in a North Dakotan accent?
Oh, you betcha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you betcha.
You know. Yep.
You know.
Oh, yeah. I know when I go to conferences that the point at which somebody asks me if I'm from Canada is when I say about. As soon as about comes out of my mouth, I'm done. I'm now from Canada. So, but yeah.
It took me a while, you know, when I started going to all these conferences, I thought, you know, and you'd meet new people and you'd have discussions with people. I always, like, right away, I thought, man, I must, like, really have some good things to say. All these people are super engaged with what I'm saying. It was not that. Finally, somebody spilled the beans and said, keep talking because I love listening to you talk. Like,
we're
that's
hammered with your accent. Oh,
they did not care what was coming out of my mouth. They just wanted to hear what it sounded like. And then that was, you know.
And it's true because then it validates for us that we really aren't Canadians because you have another level of just accent to it, and I love it. It is. It's good stuff.
All right, so no more of that. We're North Dakota nice with all those questions. I kind of assumed that was going to happen. I said, Tanner, you can't pit a bunch of North Dakota people against each other. North Dakota, South Dakota, there will be some give and take, but it was fun. Anyway.
I will say this: the universities, and so our Division I sports are on the right half of the state. Outside of those two universities and the sports, we got nothing. It is barren. It is flat. I can drive 20 minutes from my house to my mom and dad's house without elevating my vehicle. You go over to the western half of the state, and they've got the Badlands, they've got the rugged terrain, they've got Medora, they got the bully pulpit, they got all kinds of exciting stuff going on outside out there. So you got the best of both worlds in North Dakota, let's put it that way. But you couldn't get any different between the west half of the state and the east half of the state. For being labeled as a small state, we got two completely different worlds.
It is.
In as far as terrain and vision goes.
100%. Okay, before we take off here, we just kind of want to know how your rest of the school year is going to look. Like, what do you have going on outside of school? How are you teaching? What is your students' final, I guess, last month of school, last few weeks? What does it look like for the both of you?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go first because mine's way boring. Leah's is going to be super exciting, and we want to end with that because she's a rock star and she's got little kids. The cool thing about it, my class size at NDSU, I teach the upper level undergraduate classes, and then I have online. We have an online master's degree at NDSU, so that's a plug right there. If you want a master's degree in physical education, leadership, and sport, we have an online only master's degree. So please check it out if you're interested. But sorry if I didn't ask permission.
That's going to cost you just a little bit on advertising, but we'll talk about that off camera.
All right. But anyway, so my online class doesn't change in any way whatsoever. And since my class sizes are so small at that upper level, we were in essentially Zoom, just like this, and I can see all their smiling faces, and I still lecture, and they still tease me about how I don't stop talking, and so basically everything's been pretty much the same for me. I'm not nearly as exciting as what Leah's about to share with us. So give it to us, Rockstar. What do you got planned for these kids for the rest of the year?
Okay, well, my college kids did wrap up. I had 2 courses, my health methods, that went awesome. And then my secondary methods was a little bit bummed because they were super stoked to see how the Health.Moves.Minds was wrapping up. They came to the tournaments and I got their end of the year reflections. in that class, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you were like the only one there supervising these 200 kids. And maybe that's not the smartest thing, but I mean, there's parents there too, and the kids are so well behaved at my school. They just kind of know how it is. I run a tight ship, and we can have a lot of fun. And they're awesome. So they were just totally surprised and enamored. My college kids love that. And then they really wanted to come and be part of the draft and get drafted onto these students' teams because they'd built such great relationships with them. That was a little bummer not to get to finish that out. And some of my students have kind of asked, oh, hey, how's this person doing? How's this person doing? I'm like, they're great. They finished college. They're just hoping to get to see you next year sometime too. With their practicums, they got to continue to do. So they're all wrapped up. And then middle school here, we're finishing with some mindfulness and how we're going to progress into the summer, still kind of trying to manage that stress, checking in with the students, which is cool to see like what the students really are grateful for. Some of them are like, I'm so grateful, like I enjoyed school and got to enjoy it the time I did. And that was really cool to hear from some of the students. I'm grateful for my teachers. I'm grateful for my family. Some kids were really grateful for time that they got to spend with their parents. They're like, my parents are home now and I get to be with them. So that was super eye-opening to get to see their gratefulness and their gratitude journals and stuff they're wrapping up with those classes. And digital literacy like wrapped up or is wrapping up in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks as well. How we're going to get their FIAD locker stuff and their other lockers back to them, that will be interesting. We don't necessarily have a plan for that yet, but that's coming out soon. And we'll just take that in stride, and it'll be potentially a chance to get to see and provide some closures. All the teachers get to put together a skit or a video this week to put that together for students. And so we're really hoping to wrap up this year in a nice fashion for those students and welcome them back next year.
Woo!
Wow.
That's a show, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I was engaged the whole time. Hey, that's what we do here. We've made it through all the questions. You guys rocked them. They were fantastic. But I know that now when people watch this, it'll be coming out on Wednesday. There will probably be a few questions of which Tanner and I can probably not answer. And so what we like to do at the end of every show is give you a chance to tell our viewers how to get in contact with you. If they have questions about Health.Moves.Minds or how you maybe did your fundraiser or how you're doing things at NDSU, or perhaps if they want to start an online master's program at NDSU, Dr. Deutsch. I don't know.
You're not charging me double now for that, are you? Because
I
didn't even hit that plug.
I told you we'd talk after the show. We've got lawyers that need to get involved at this point. So Dr. Deutsch, why don't you go first? Tell us how our viewers can get a hold of you. What's the best way? And if they have any questions.
Cool. Well, thank you very much again for having us. It was a pleasure and honor, and it's fun to hang out with you two guys and Leah, because we can all banter so well together. And so thank you. You can get a hold of me at Joe, Joe, Deutsch, DEUTSCH at ndsu.edu. You could probably also find me on Twitter, but I may not get the message very quickly because Steele still hasn't explained to me how to get actively engaged with Twitter. So we'll see during the rest of this pandemic if he can get me up to speed. But yeah, so like I said, I can help you out with Health.Moves.Minds, and I got a couple different articles that you could use to promote it and get some support from your administration or whatever else. So let me know if you have any questions about that. And the master's degree program that we've run that's completely online, if you're interested at all too, that's 3 times.
Yeah, so Twitter works for me. I'm on it more than Joe is, less than Jason or Tanner. And I did have some other pictures from our events, or as students were doing them back in March. So you can see those on there. So that's at Leah WPE, LEAHWPE. And then my email that I'm using and checking all the time, as most of you probably are as teachers in this online world here, is Leah, LEAH_ Wheeling, WHEELING, at Bismarck Schools, BISMARCK and then schools.org.
Awesome. Well, thank you two so much again for taking time out of your evening and joining us. And I know that people will be excited to see how you've implemented Health.Moves.Minds, and perhaps maybe they'll be interested in our TED Talk when we finally get that scheduled. And Leah, I'm a size extra large, so if you're looking to get rid of one of those shirts, I'll rep it. I'll rep it here for sure. So thank you two for joining us. And Tanner, any remarks before we take off?
No, that's it. I think it's my bedtime.
It is definitely bedtime. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I normally do bedtime at like 8:15 with my son, and so this is way past my bedtime.
And
This is just when all the good shows start is really
That's
what.
okay.
Yeah.
And this is about the time that I go second gear. So I get my family to bed at 8, 9 o'clock. If you're going to get an email response from me, expect it to be between the hours of 10 and 2 a.m. because that's when I'm really hitting my next gear.
That's when
this is
you're
how it
checking
works,
emails
Joe.
and watching wrestling.
Yes, Joe, we go to conferences, and your job is to shut down the town for North Dakota, and my job is to open it up. I feel like I put a Twitter post on going to those 6 a.m., 7 a.m. sessions, and Joe, you catch it about 1 in the afternoon or noon, and you're like, hey, I was posting until 6 a.m. this morning,
That's because all the best karaoke really doesn't start until like 11 or 12.
Right.
Not true. I've seen Joe in action before. I go to bed early at some of those conferences. Not all of them, but some of them.
Somebody's got to represent us at 6 o'clock in the morning, Leah. You know it's not me. So I appreciate you taking care of us.
Yep. Well, you got to lock it down because that's not my hour of the evening.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I had fun. I hope you did too when you were watching this. And until next time, this is Let's Talk Phys Ed, and we will see you on the next show.